What is up, y'all? Welcome back out to the bench in the backyard. My name is Jordan, and this is my procumbens that I repotted a couple of months ago. You may notice something. It's a little bit different. There's no bar branch right here anymore. It's all been cleaned out, and it's actually starting to look like an actual tree instead of just a big bush. The reason it is looking like this is my birthday was at the beginning of this month, and so my wife, for my birthday, got me a little private workshop with Rodney Clemons down in Georgia. So went down there. We spent a couple of hours working on this tree. The new front's probably somewhere right around in there. And he gave me a critique on some of my other trees. I took a total of 9 trees down there, including this one. So we worked on this one. He gave me some tips and some critiques on my other trees. You'll see those throughout this week. This is my 1-year anniversary being on YouTube. So yeah. So little quick spin around. We went in, we cleaned up all the branches, took off a lot of foliage. So I'm expecting this thing to push out real hard. So for the next couple of months, we're just going to let it grow. And then in July, we're going to come through and wire everything and make this actually look like a bonsai. Next thing I'm going to have to do after that is find another pot for it. He suggested, actually, I took down that Ilex Crenata, and he suggested that I make a pot for this one, similar to that one, slightly bigger, a little bit deeper. But yeah, so that may be what this is going in. And I mean, just the information that he gave me really helped. Helped me just I can actually now see the tree. Like up here, if we can bring this one in and down a little bit, we've set up this apex up here to just be amazing. Probably bring this down a little bit. This one's going to be tough to bend. It might just, I don't know, it might get turned into gin. At least this part. Well, I guess the whole thing. I don't know. I'll figure that one out when we get there. But yeah, I took off this big branch over here, and so now it looks a little funny in this pot way over here when it should be planted over here. But that'll get changed when we actually get it into a pot that's the right size for it. So yeah. So gonna go ahead and show y'all that workshop that I did with him. And there are some points where either I or Rodney are standing in front of the camera. And anywhere that's happening, or we're off camera somewhere and he's actually showing me something, I'll try and put something up on the screen that'll kind of demonstrate what he is actually saying. Because I mean, once I put up the camera, I just kind of forgot it was there. We were just sitting there talking, and he was explaining to me, and I was just trying to soak up as much information as I could. And I'm just glad that he would consented and said, sure, you can film this, and so I can share it with y'all. So yeah, one last little spin around here, and I'll see y'all after the workshop. Oh, if you like what you see here, don't forget to go ahead and subscribe, throw a like down below. It does help. If you don't like what you see, just blame Rodney, not me. No, don't do that. Throw a comment down below and let me know what I can be doing better. Or if you don't like The fact that we took off this branch, I think it. I mean, it really does make a big world of difference not having this long, basically straight branch. It did a few wiggles, but it wasn't enough movement in it to really complement the rest of this tree. When you have this movement here and this movement, and that movement just keeps repeating in other places, and then you have this long straight branch over here, it did not suit the tree. So yeah. Yeah, I'll go ahead and throw this back out on the bench so it can get some sun, and I will see y'all at Rodney's.
It's yours. Okay.
Yeah, it's just a microphone so that you don't have to sit there and look at the camera.
Well, I'm not. So you know, the thing that I see with this tree that I'm going to assume and knock out is because it's procumbens nana and it's always wanting to lay over. When you get into this apex here, the fact that it comes no taper and then it comes and goes down here, this is the part that's doing two things. One, it makes it look like a procumbens nana juniper, and the other thing is it's shading big time. But the apex, rather than going to this as apex, it's nice up here. So you've got a good apex up here. This part here would be what I would remove. And you've got a great branch coming off. So you've got a nice branch, but it's up and you're not seeing it. So, you know, you can clean on one side, I'll clean on the other. And that's going to be the biggest part of this.
Yeah.
If you do it not correctly, you can work on these almost any time. But I like working on these junipers really 1st of July and everything. Yeah. And the reason is when you open them up and everything, they got full sun and they regrow. And because it's hot, a lot of UV light and everything, the foliage is tighter and denser and smaller.
Yeah.
And so, but anyway, this to me is your biggest thing, is getting this working and you know, reducing some of these. This can be a back branch. This could be a back branch. Back branch is most important branch because they're depth for you.
I mean, would you see that as the front, or would you change up the planting a little bit?
Well, it's a pie shape on this side.
Yeah.
And normally speaking, I'll have so you've got the main trunk, and so you have the main trunk, and you got a secondary trunk. Where do you put it? You put it to the side, then it's two-dimensional.
Yeah.
And so basically, your 4 areas that do work artistically are 45s.
Okay, so basically thing. Where it is.
Pretty much. I mean, you could. That's something that it looks good the way it is. Yes, but now you get into from here. This is cutting to the quick, but you've got a sort of a reverse taper, but I don't care about reverse tapers. I mean, you got them all through this.
Yeah.
But it starts out small, and you don't see this part, which is pretty cool. So if you turn it just a hair, then you're getting the thickness of this, and you're seeing that. So that's sort of what I would go to initially. That's going to change. This is interesting because it does kind of camouflage or make the eye a little, doesn't tell you the whole story. So what you don't want to see is the line of the tree all the way up, unless you're going with a literati or bourgeon. But you don't want to see this. You want to hide it, think you're seeing it, so you're assuming. Most people see things better than they really are.
Yeah.
So yeah, that part I would like to bring things down and perhaps break it up in here just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but of course, you're going to be taking off things like
Yeah.
this unless you need a branch there. But let's go ahead and do several things, unless you want to clean the whole tree up, which I'm okay with doing that. But yeah, this pendulous growth here, we could, actually what we can do, just to make sure, there are two of these, but it's mainly this one that's your problem,
Yeah.
or my problem. You want to take it off, or you want to clean the whole thing up and look at it? I'm fine with doing that.
We can take it off. Huh.
So I'm gonna, in agreement, I'm gonna go ahead and remove some of this length, or you can just wait. I don't mind waiting at all.
Well, I mean, we have this that can replace it if we need to.
Yeah. But you've got, bar branches. You can't worry about rules like that. They're teaching mechanisms, but there's a reason that you have to consider that, and that stops the eye.
Yeah.
So if you go one way or another, I mean, this branch on this side actually looks good because it's on the outside of the curve.
Yeah.
This one's on the inside, which straightens that curve out, but it's a pretty cool branch.
Yeah.
So we'll leave it for now.
Yeah, leave it for now.
Yeah.
And then.
So we'll. So what I want you to do is come in here, long branch, short branch, same spot. So you're going to basically be coming in, and you can do it with fine scissors or fingers at this point. You're going to create movement through here, picking the branches, cleaning it out. But it's like you pruned a wire. Your wiring's like painting a house. Do more prep than actual the work. Ron Neal says you're not supposed to pluck, but I kidded him about it. He goes, "Well, everybody plucks, Rodney."
Yeah. I mean, as long as you're taking the whole thing, it's not like you're.
Well, I mean, you don't want to do damage. So
Yeah.
As a teacher, especially in Ryan's situation, you've got to be somewhat safe. And it's like I heard you don't defoliate. And when he came here with tridents and everything, they were all defoliated and everything. And he goes, "No, I teach don't defoliate, but because people mess it up. You know why and what you're doing." Hey, it's a good tree, and that helps you with all these decisions. So did your cuttings take from that box?
One of them did.
They were young.
Yeah. I've got actually one of my Kingsvilles out there that I got at the show. I'm still in search for a pot for it, and this winter it was so pot bound I just had to slip pot it because I just could not keep it watered to save my life. And I mean, because the way I figured that one out is it started to brown off on the top, and so was like, oh, crap, I got to do something about this, and threw it down in a pond basket with a sandy soil just so it would hold a little bit of water, and it's bounced back a lot. I'm still in a search for a pot for it. While I was at Winter Silhouette, one of the potters actually said, "Hey, can I see that tree for a minute?" And he took it and stuck it down in one of the pots that he had. It was a long rectangle. It was like 4 inches by 12 inches. And it looked perfect in it. He was like, "Too bad that one's already sold." And so I'm like, why did you even do that? Like,
yeah, really.
Why did you show me that? And now I really, really want a pot that looks just like that. It was like red and black glaze. And I mean, it just sat in the pot perfectly. And I mean, it's really hard to find one of those narrow, long
kind of
rectangles. Yeah, kind. I mean, it was like like I said, it was 4 inches by 12 inches.
That red color works nicely with king quills.
Yeah, and now it's gotten to the point where every time I look at it, I see new growth, and I just pluck it off, and
well,
it's putting growth on everywhere.
Yeah, I mean what they'll do is you know, I basically, once they get mature, I'm going to prune them mostly in the wintertime. Because every time you prune, they're going to regrow.
Yeah.
We're having the wettest May in a long time. We're over double our normal rainfall here for May.
Yeah, I've had to move a couple of my trees underneath the overhang just so they don't
keep getting wet.
Keep getting wet. Yeah. Well, I mean, you'll see one of them. It's just been getting so much rain that I think it's too much water, and it started to yellow on one side. Hopefully I caught it soon enough to kind of get it safe.
What kind of tree?
Oh, it's a procumbens. A lot of my wife jokes. She said I have mostly procumbens. I don't have mostly procumbens, but most of the trees that look like bonsai trees are procumbens because they're just so easy to.
Well, you know, there's nothing wrong especially when you're getting started, to focus on something that does well with you. Yeah, basically I'm a plant lover, and even though I do a lot of kingsvilles, I like a lot of different kinds of plants. So, do you spray?
Only if I see something, which I know that's probably too late.
No, not necessarily. I mean, but you don't want to prophylactically spray except for a few things. So, I like coming out of winter without any of this. So you can definitely spray in the winter with it. It's, like a fungicide that's broad-based, lime sulfur, one of those. And you can spray for, I use horticultural oil. So you're suffocating all the insects. So you come out of the start of the year without, any issues at all. But, one thing that's going to help this tree really from now on in its life is you're exposing and allowing sunlight to get to everything. So this condensed foliage that you have in places is really blocks a lot of the ventilation, light, and all. You're going to be able to control that. Have you been out to Ryan Neal's place?
I have not. No. The only thing I've seen from him is what he actually puts on YouTube. I should probably bite the bullet and pay for his Mirai live stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, the stuff that he puts on YouTube, yes, it's very educational, but I can only watch his spring fundamentals class so many times.
But the thing with Ryan is he's got so much information that he gives you. With me, after a point, I start getting zoned out. You know, I can watch it for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to put it down and come back.
Yeah.
What
And
got you into bonsai?
The first time was, I don't know how it happened, but I was sitting there watching YouTube, and it was a Peter Chan from Heron's Bonsai.
Yeah.
Showed up on my feed, and so I was like, huh. And so I watched it, and then like 12 videos later, YouTube just kept showing me bonsai videos.
Yeah. We got a sucker.
Yeah, we got a sucker. And so I did it, and that first year that I was doing bonsai, I was like, well, it's a bonsai tree, it needs to go in a bonsai pot. So I took a bunch of trees and shoved them in really, really small pots, and then they died over the winter. And I was like, well, maybe this isn't for me. And then actually the video that you did out at Bonsai Mirai on that Kingsville, I was like, holy cow, that tree is amazing.
Yeah.
Just because growing up here in the South, I mean, you see all these big giant oak trees, and I was like, oh, so you can not like follow the rules and just make it look like an actual tree. And I was like, I can try it again. And so I went and tried it again, and I lost 3 trees that next winter, but that was 3 out of like 15 or 20. The ones that I did lose, I did the same thing that I had done the year before and put them in a tiny pot, and they just didn't like being constricted that much. And the winter, at that time I didn't have like a cold frame or anything, so they were just sitting on the ground, and I guess they froze up. But I only lost 3 trees that year, and this year I lost 0 trees.
There you go.
Had a little bit of dieback on a couple of them, but they actually survived, and they're doing well now. They've all put on new growth, and so that has been nice.
So how long of a period are we talking here?
This is, I guess this was my 3rd winter doing bonsai. First winter did not go well. The second winter went
better.
a good bit better. And this last winter went pretty good. So I've been doing this for like 3 years. The oldest trees that I have now being 2 years old.
Well, it'll make you feel better. You know, Elvis Presley of Bonsai, John Knockett, said, you're not doing bonsai if you don't kill some.
Yeah.
We've all killed them. First 3 trees I worked on were dead in 2 days.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't have that problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
I decided I needed me to admit I needed a teacher was tough.
So what actually got you into bonsai?
I just well, I'll go back to in kindergarten, my teacher said, you know, okay, for your assignment over the weekend, I want you to go think and come back and tell me what your favorite color is. And it's like, I probably was the only one in class that took it serious. And so I was struggling with it. Then I thought, well, you know, my favorite thing is a tree. So it's, you know, it's got to be a tree. And so that's green. Got back and she talked and talked and talked and went, hey, what about that favorite color? And I could tell she didn't even remember saying that. You know? But it was a book on trees that was my favorite book, and that's where the green thing came from. And so then you know, I just always loved trees, climbed them, and the live oak was my favorite tree because in Tallahassee, that's what there were a lot of really good ones. So this is sort of what I'm looking at. Some of them are thicker, but we're making decisions and opening it up. But you can see you're seeing a lot more. You don't have any extras and stuff.
Yeah.
All the new growth, old growth, sorry, is going to be coming off. The tree's going to throw it anyway.
Yeah.
You're just speeding the process up. So then, you know, went into the nursery business. My first job was 13. I worked at a nursery. And so it was just a natural progression. Somebody came to the nursery, and this was late 60s, and said, you know, you should get into bonsai and come to my house and I'll show them to you. And I went and didn't really appreciate it at all. But I saw it again when I was in high school. There was a Atlanta club and there was a show here. And I just walked into, it was in a mall, and was there with my girlfriend. And as I got closer and closer to this thing, it's like, oh man, there was a trident forest. And I just walked right into the forest and actually never left. And that's when I went and just to the nursery and got some trees that looked dwarf and wired the crap out of them with wire and cut them, and then didn't realize how hard it was to make it look like a tree. So I bent branches back and forth and back and forth. And
Yeah.
I can still remember when I you know, took it to somebody that I was having trouble with, and he laughed and he turned it sideways, and it was two-dimensional out the wazoo.
Yeah, I guess that's a good thing about YouTube is like I kind of had lessons before I tried.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I mean, having watched like 15 or 20 videos, you're like,
Yeah,
oh, that looks easy. I can do that. And I mean, the doing it's the easy part. The keeping it alive and not doing too much is the hard part.
yeah. Well, you know, you're working at the tree speed, not your own.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the hardest thing is getting that patience. It's you go in and you try and make it into a bonsai right away, and that just doesn't work most of the time.
Yeah, sometimes you're good and sometimes you're lucky. I've got a lot of trees that I was lucky on. You know, the tree was better than I was. And thank goodness I didn't mess them up too bad. But going slow, my first teacher, he said, okay, I want you to bring all your trees in. And so I did, and he looks at them and he goes, you need more trees. And I was like, oh, right. You know, I said, so I'm doing a great job. He goes, no, you're overworking your trees. You need more trees so you leave them alone.
Yeah, this year I bought a bunch of seeds from Sheffield's and started a bunch of JBPs and some...
You got good sun?
Huh? Yeah. Yeah, I've got places that'll give them sun whenever I need them to have sun.
Uh-huh.
So I've got parts of the yard that are sun for 11 hours, but I got parts of the yard that
I'm jealous.
are sun for just morning sun, and so I don't have to worry too bad about burning up all my deciduous trees. When I say all, I've got like 5. I'm going to be doing some air layers on a couple of Japanese maples that I got last year. One of them's really
trying to do it this year.
Yeah.
Go ahead and do it.
Yeah, that was my next thing. As soon as we got down into the 40, it was like 47, 48. Not last week, but the week before, and then all last week it was just pouring down rain all the time. So I just haven't had a chance to get back out into the.
Well, this is your prime time right now, so
yeah.
You got this time, or you got a little bit later in the season. But right now, you got more time for it to set roots. With your air layer and hardy material, then you got to collect it before winter.
Yeah.
Obviously, going to freeze the roots. But I'm glad you graduated from Peter Chan to Ron Neal, though.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, he just made it look so easy. You just go in and.
Yeah.
I'm like I can move my hands like that. That'll be fine. And then watching Ryan do work on, especially some of those collected ponderosas, it's just like, holy cow. I wish I could find something even close to that. But, of course, over here with the older mountains, we don't have quite as many rocky hollows for trees to grow in.
Well, yeah, but we do. And you're not going to have Rocky Mountain junipers.
Well, no, yeah.
But I'll show you some of what we have here that I think is mind-boggling are the Virginia pines, and they're a 2-flush pine like black pine. So nothing wrong with black pines, but if you unless you're buying a really good one, that it's a young tree.
Yeah.
For the Virginia pines, you can collect the age on it and the style.
Yeah, the thing that made me want to do the Japanese black pines is that demonstration. I was like, holy cow, he got that root spread and that size on that tree in 8 years.
Yeah, it's a strong tree. But you can collect that look of age that 8 years is not going to produce.
Yeah.
Now, you tell me how you want to work on some of this stuff, as far as, if it's things people go, well, I can do that at home, or things that just, I don't want to take your time and use it for, like, literally we could spend all day on this tree.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It just, at least setting structure.
Yeah. I'm taking
getting to the point where we can set structure, and
this branch that has come around and become a trunk. I'm going to take it off.
All right. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the apex, how much of that would you take off, or would you wait until we moved it around?
We're gonna do what I've done to the whole tree, and then you're gonna be able to see what you want to do, and we'll talk about it then. And then it's the progression I keep talking about. Is you once you get that to where it's exposed, then you're not guessing. The tree's just laying it all out for you. It's done the hard part. But I look for some mite damage. I've looked for fungal. I've looked at blight, and see very little issues with this tree, other than shading itself.
Yeah.
I call that self-styling.
Well, I mean, that's what it does.
That's the main thing is listen to your tree and whatever it's really trying to do. That like I was saying, that every tree has several styles in it. So one branch might be a semi-cascade. You might have even formal upright in it, but it can be a mix, and then you're trying to separate some of which you want to go, then other you want a complex tree. The more complex the tree, in the end, the better it's going to be. So you're not sprayed anything?
I have not, no.
That's pretty good.
This one I just got, so that would be why. I didn't have this one over winter. I got this one from Plant City.
Oh yeah, yeah. Boy, I tell you what.
I don't know where he gets his junipers from, but
California.
Okay, but they're real nice.
They are real nice.
Yeah, it was in a like a 6 or 7 inch deep nursery pot, and I was like, man, I'm gonna need a big pot for that, and I didn't need as big a pot as I thought I needed.
Yeah, for right now you're really just trying to. I mean, the first thing, I don't know if I said this before, but the first thing people usually get pot-wise are blue pots, and then they get pots that are just pots that they can put the tree in, and then you get pots that are correct size, and but in the end, you want a pot that sings with the tree.
I don't think I have a blue pot. Actually, no, I have one blue pot, but I did not pick it out.
Well, you're off to. That's a good thing. It's just blue pots look good to beginners a lot of times, and there's nothing wrong with blue pots, but you don't want to concentrate on just every pot being a blue pot. This is a nice pot. When you first see a tree, you should go in and see that trunk, see that base, that nabari, and then climb the tree, get into the branches and everything. The last thing you want to do is get back down from the tree and look at the pot. Don't want the pot to dominate the tree.
Something like this, where it's got basically no branch on the right, would you leave that one there and wire that over to kind of make that, or would you just take off?
At this point, yeah, why don't you leave it? You can always take it off later.
Yeah.
But yeah, go ahead and leave it. Little branches been bugging me the whole time. You can put more fertilizer on this also.
Yeah.
And have you done the tea bags?
No, I have not.
You should do that on a tree like this. And the reason is basically you can put more fertilizer in it. So you're wanting not fast growth, but you're definitely wanting to feed the tree right now.
Yeah.
But when everybody talks about taking a third off, whatever. That's another one of those. It's hard to follow things because it's really you want to leave 2/3 of that outside growth.
Mm-hmm.
That interior stuff, the old growth, I don't count it. Yeah, Steve's got a lot of his are somewhat old. I see a lot coming from out of there, being so close, of course. But
Yeah, there's that, and then there's a spot up in Greenville. It's Green Thumb Bonsai. It's just an old dude in his backyard.
I know John well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's he's a very interesting guy.
Yeah, he's
Very interesting. When you first meet him, you think, well, this is just an old Southern country bumpkin kind of guy. Damn, the guy was, a computer guy back in the day with computers, and he also, I don't know if you know much about the guy, but he took care of his wife.
Yeah.
Like, I always admire that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if I get anything from a bonsai nursery, it's one of those two. That's just the two closest places.
I've got trees from John. I mean, he what I get from a lot is his containers.
Yeah.
He runs into really, really good containers, and he's inexpensive.
Yeah. Yeah, I got a little small Kingsville. It's like, well, it's probably 6 inches tall and 10 inches around for like $60. It was. He didn't want to sell it at first. He said, "Oh, I'm going to be taking cuttings here shortly." And he kept saying, "Oh, he's about to get out of the bonsai business." And then
he's been saying that for a while.
And he finally sold it to me.
You also have Ray Monroney there too. You can afford his pots. You're being politically silent with that.
Well, I didn't know that there was a potter in Greenville.
Look him up.
It said Ray Monroney?
No, Ray or Roy.
Roy
Monroney.
Roy Monroney.
Yeah. His pots have been shown in Japan. Actually won one of the awards. Yeah, I like every time Eli and I went to Silhouette Show. We came, of course, back down 85, and I always stopped at John's. Where are you getting your tools from?
I got them off of Amazon.
Uh-huh.
Just a little cheap.
Yeah, it's good to start that way. But, at least go to a moderate quality tool.
Yeah.
When I was first getting started, we actually did not have cheap tools. They were all expensive to me. But I've still got my first set. And, let's see, like 53 years or something of doing bonsai now. I'll drop the first 15 years. Let me see those scissors. I'm curious about one thing. Yeah, I use these more for roots.
Yeah.
And they really don't. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird how, see the pivot point?
Mm-hmm.
You can fix some of that. See, it's off.
Yeah.
And it's probably because you cut too big of a branch. I can fix them for you if you want. I can show you. We'll do that later on anyway. I can get you some. Here's these. That's a $8 tool. We have a really like that tool.
And it's something that's coming out kind of like that. Would you just pretend that that's the way it sits? Because it's kind of like that.
Yeah, you might end up even removing that, but yes, you're going to be spinning a lot of these. So you're kind of dictating some of what you can do right now, but your initial there's several styling. How to put it, but you're going to go through a progression of, love that word obviously, but you're going to go through a period of what we're doing is initial styling, and as it grows, the tree's going to do some self-styling for you and show itself better. Okay, with this, you got last year's growth that's lignified.
Mm-hmm.
This is this year's growth.
Yep.
Okay, even though I told you to leave the outside edge, you've got it right there. So this is one you can be safe, but you've got that. You don't need this runner. So when you get back home with this tree, it's going to drink the same for a couple of days, and then it's going to slow down. And so with that slowing down, just watch your watering.
Yep.
You can overwater.
I haven't had to water this one in a while because of all the rain.
Well, yeah, water in the mornings if you can.
Yep.
I figured out one thing hadn't thought of, but you water you water. What takes place is you've got a water tension barrier or a water table in the bottom of the pot. So water is gravity fed. Your sweet zone is from there up. You get down to that bottom part and water is lazy and the gravity is not pushing it out. So it will sit, and that's where your anaerobic bacteria grows. And so you want to use that, but if you panic at the end of the day because it looks really dry, experiment and wait till the morning, which the tree's not going to really suffer overnight from being dry, and wait till the morning and see how that water in the bottom, see if it's wicked up. A lot of times it'll fool people. The other good thing about doing it in the morning is you've already broken, the tree itself has broken that water tension barrier where you're not having to water over and over again to initially get the tree wet. It's already moist, and so here, if I have to water in the afternoon, it might take an hour and a half. If I can wait till the morning, it might take 45 minutes to hand water. When you're working this tree from now on and pruning and everything, start at the top and work your way down. And the reason that I do that is somewhat laziness, but you're cleaning up as you're going down. It looks like once we get it to this stage, we could go out on the deck. I try not to have the fans on in here when I'm working with somebody because you can't hear.
Yeah.
But yeah, always I kind of look at branches and see the quality of them. It might not be flat the way it's grown. There might be a twist like you were talking. But then you get into when you wire. That's something you can't really learn on the internet. Nothing like getting out and having to do it.
Yeah. The first couple of trees I wired did not look They had a lot of wire on them. Lot of wire.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple of the ones that I have right now that are out in the car have a good bit of wire on them too, but
You wired with copper, aluminum.
Aluminum.
You know, try to break that and go copper. There's a lot of advantages to copper. Makes you a better wire because you can't overthink it. You gotta think it out and do what needs to be done. You don't have a lot of copper work hardens as you're using it. So what do you do at the restaurant?
I am the kitchen manager there.
Man, you do have a hard job.
Yeah, so I'm having to manage people and still cook food, and it's just
jack of all trades.
It's a lot of work.
Well, hopefully you like what you're doing.
Sometimes. Most of the time I like what I'm doing. As far as the cooking goes, I like what I'm doing.
Well, of course.
It's the having to get people to do what they're supposed to do and not slack off.
Yeah, the kitchen, I've not done that job, but I've had a lot of acquaintances that did, and man, there's a dance there.
And we don't have normal hours. It's nice because like I can be out in the yard all morning long and don't go into work until 2 o'clock. So that's nice. I have the whole morning to do whatever I need to do with trees and then go to work. By the time I get done with work, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, Mariah's a fun place to go when you feel not lacking, but when you got the drive Ryan does, and he started out where I don't know what his dad did, or his grandfather, I think maybe, but he's always saved half the money he makes. I doubt he does it now, but when he was working his way through, he did, and it shows. He doesn't do anything halfway.
No, he doesn't.
Pleasure going out there and working because it's set up so nicely.
Yeah, the only time I've been out to the West Coast, I wasn't even close to being into bonsai yet. We went out there for our honeymoon. My wife and I, we flew to Las Vegas and rented a car and then drove out to LA and then up the coast and then back to Vegas because it's really cheap to fly into Vegas and you can get a car for like $30 a day.
That's good to know.
And so I think all the travel was like maybe $1,000 for 2 plane tickets and a car for 11 days. Plus we got to go to Vegas.
I've never been.
It was fun. My wife actually liked it a lot more than she thought she would. We were just going because it was cheap flight because the casinos basically subsidize all the flights into Vegas because they want you to come to Vegas.
Yeah. Liquor's cheap.
Yep.
Get you a little free and then. Yeah, I was into bonsai going to California, and gosh, just the trees on the coast were incredible. We started, we flew into LA, but pretty quickly went north. Seeing those trees around, starting with Camille, we started seeing good trees, and you get up around right south of San Francisco, and trees on the coast are really getting good. Getting up in the trees, of course, the redwoods were kind of intense to see, and we went all the way up into Oregon. this, you're going to see a scar that was not as, the branch, the scar is bigger than the branch. So no bonsai, didn't go to any bonsai nursery out there.
No. Wish I had, but
Yeah.
like, I mean, looking back, it would have
One
been nice.
about
It would have been
trees.
nice to have another 11 years of experience under my belt. You know?
Yeah,
But
but
I mean,
it's not about stuff like that when you're going on a honeymoon.
well, because I cook a lot, or because I'm a chef, that was basically what our honeymoon was about.
Eating.
We went and ate, and
Yeah.
of course that's something that she can enjoy too. Like
Yeah.
spending 4 or 5 hours just looking at trees, not her cup of tea.
Yeah.
I did get her one of the trees that we have out there is one of my Harlandis that I got from Steve. And she finally did some work on it. She's been calling it her tree for 2 years now. She's like, "Oh, I picked it out." I was like, "Yeah, but you haven't done any work on it, so it's not your tree."
Yeah. So she's the one I met at Silhouette.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was little anniversary trip, I guess. It was close to our anniversary, so we just turned it into that. And she was nice and let me buy a tree.
Yeah, I'm gonna miss that show this year. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, that was the first bonsai show I've been to, so it was a really fun experience. And
yeah, it's a different show because they're not trying to be
real
traditional.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing about that show is it's amazing how many good potters are showing up there. Yeah. Atlanta used to not a show like that, but they had one in November. It's sort of a convention kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got really good vendors coming in because there's no other show.
Yeah.
You know your pH or your water?
I do not.
Check it out. It's going to help you with trying to decide how you're going to deal with water.
Yeah, I mean that is my biggest problem right now. We're on city water.
Yeah.
I can't dig a well. We're in the city limits, so
really can't dig a
no, can't dig a well.
That sucks.
Yeah. So I'm stuck on city water for now.
Well, so you can a lot of your fertilizers and stuff like that, you can get to where you're
using a fertilizer that'll balance out the pH.
Or you can, like I use a lot of Epsom salts, which magnesium sulfate, and so if you overdo it, the tree's going to take in what it needs with magnesium sulfate. But if you overdo it, then it just makes your soil acid. And most water, city water, they put a lot of things in it that makes it, rather than 6.5 and everything, it's generally
like 7.2 or
or you're lucky if it's just that.
Well, I mean, we're getting our water out of Hartwell. I mean, we have the treatment plant is right there in Anderson, so not real. I would have to test it. I do not know what our pH is.
You can always adjust.
Yeah.
Without spending a lot of money. I'd rather see you buy good pots and good trees, and the better your trees you buy. It's kind of funny, but people will pay me to come not edit as much, but help them with their collection. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And the first thing you do is just go, okay, this tree, move out of here. I am the curator for several of the collections around, and So, you get in there for a couple months and people go, man, I cannot believe how good you made the collection look so fast. And it's like, all I did was get rid of the dogs.
I just moved some trees. They're not here anymore. Yeah.
So they always look not really bare, but open, and looks like you don't want them to look like this when you get ready to show them.
Obviously, yeah.
And so,
but yeah, first styling is always going to look.
Yes.
Which, I mean, that where a lot of my trees are is just like that initial. My first year with them was last year. Like you said, my not this past winter, but the winter before that, I had like 15 or 20 trees, and now I'm up. I've got a few more.
Yeah.
A lot. Well, quite a few more.
Well, nothing wrong with that.
Every time I go to Lowe's, I have to walk through the plant department.
Again, one thing you can do is there's a point where you're going to get picky, and
yeah,
with that, one good way of dealing with it is every tree you get rid of two. Sounds brutal, but your collection will improve, and you'll be meeting more and more people that are into bonsai, and it's a good way to share the joy of bonsais.
Work on a tree for a couple of years and then sell it off and replace it with another one.
Well, yeah, because you put a lot of work into it, so you want a bonsai person to keep going with it.
Yeah.
But you've learned some trees are just a learning tool. I'm going to say this tree is going to end up being one you're going to keep a lot longer. It's got a lot of good qualities to it, and there's a system that I do, not system in the right word, but you're always you don't have to pick them, but they'll kind of pick themselves. But you want to keep trees that are your first trees.
Yeah.
Because there's Ben Oakey. I don't know if you know some of these names I'm going to say, but Ben Oakey was a student at John Naka's, and I was working a pine with him. I was really proud of that tree. I said, how long is it going to be until I show this tree? Thinking, next year. He goes, a good pine takes 30 years. And you should see that tree now if it's been 50 years. But that's the difference of going in and collecting trees from the wild. But you want to do that after you've got a little bit of, because that tree owns you. You pull it out of some place that it's grown forever. You got it. That's when you got to treat it like it's personal,
Yeah. The only collected trees I have are trees I collected out of my yard that grew like they were weeds. I got a couple of white mulberries that don't know where they came from. No white mulberries that I've seen, or at least bigger ones. Now they're just everywhere, all over the place.
Birds like them.
And I got several Chinese elms, same way, except it wasn't my yard. It was the parking lot at work.
Yeah. Nothing wrong with
those are all pretty small. One of the which I have one of the white mulberries here. It's just I just did a trunk chop on it this year. And just like I said, with the critique, I just kind of want to, hey, am I going in the right direction, or do I need to rethink some things and fix what I'm doing, or kind of just refine it a little bit more?
it's always good to have that sort of philosophy where you can always your refining is so important.
I mean, it's like that with cooking too. The first 15 years of my career or so, I didn't spend more than 2 years at a restaurant. Just because you go and you learn everything that you can from the chef or the kitchen manager, or whoever's running the restaurant. And once you stop learning, it's time to find somebody else to learn from.
Now there's I can't remember who it was, but he was like a I'm just going to use the piano, but a concert pianist.
Mm-hmm.
So he's really good, and he was doing an interview, and he goes, "Well, I got to cut this interview off. I've got to go practice." And the guy goes, "What?" He goes, "As good as you are, you have to practice." And he goes, "Oh, I'm still learning."
Yeah, I mean, it's
you quit learning and you're dead.
Yeah.
But you know, with the juniper, it's pretty much wire on, wire off. They're flexible, and unless you really horse the branch around and get some scar tissue, scar tissue is what's going to hold it for you. And you leave the wire on a little longer than, well, a lot longer than things like deciduous. You want a little damage, and they, like a pine, will do the same thing. They help themselves, but you can have wire damage. It looks like that wisteria you had grew around it, and about 2 to 3 to 5 months later, that wire damage is gone. It pushes it back out the way the water tubes work on it.
Yeah, I've got one in there that is, I've been slowly unwiring it as I've seen the wire start to bite in. Well, I'm only unwiring what needs to be unwired.
Yeah. Well, you'll learn.
Like with a juniper like this, how far up the wire are you really looking at? Not wanting it to go farther than.
How much?
Yeah, how much would you let it bite in before you?
Just get tight when you take it off. You see an indentation.
Okay.
You can go past that. What you don't want to see is when you take it off and you twist your wire cutters. Then you're going to do damage, and you don't want to see that. The tree will protect itself certain ways, but you don't want to see that wire damage of scarring at first. So I don't know if that's making sense. But you know, there's a good example is I bought a collection. I do that a lot with getting pots, but I bought a collection, and so it had one of the ugliest black pines I've ever seen in my mind, because you know it had huge scar damage on it, and so you know I had to have it. So I got it and took the wire off, and I looked at it, and you know the wire had twisted as it went up. So rather than having a bad tree, I had a tree that with a spiral in it. And, you know, that's done as a practice.
Yeah.
And so I had that tree, and it was incredible. Everybody was wanting to buy it. And I went, oh, no, I don't have a spiral tree, and this is a good one. And so could have sold it. And about 3 years later, it had totally grown out of that. I couldn't give that tree away.
That looks, yeah, I'm starting to see where you can.
Yeah, you're starting to see the tree. The tree's telling you what it wants to do.
Yeah, well, I mean, with all the foliage, it was so much.
Yeah. Now it's looking like a tree. Before it looked like a nursery plant.
Yeah.
And nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is. So we're close. And you're going to have some big decisions to make. I get to have fun. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. How much salt you going to put on that puppy?
Yeah, this was never how I did a tree before. It was like, I mean, or at least a juniper. It was never just like, it was, go in and clean out like the first inch or so of the branch.
Yeah.
And then just leave the rest of it, and then we'll worry about the rest of it when we pick the branches. But
yeah,
actually cleaning it out first before you do that, it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, it sure does.
And I would have never thought to do it just because, like, I mean, you don't see like Ryan Neal or someone like that actually working on a smaller. They're usually working on these big, giant pieces, and it's like they've already had it. They've been working on it for like 2 years or 3 years at the point when they're actually going in and doing the initial style, and it's like, well, he's already gone in and done all that. He knows those points where he's going to cut because he's been working on this tree for 2 years, you know, and just that kind of,
and just giving you a secret too, that big trees are a lot easier to work on than small trees.
Yeah.
And make look like trees because
they're big trees.
They're big trees to begin with. Yeah, it's like, let the tree do the talking. And, it's like that Kingsville, that Ryan Neal's, actually, that tree, I'd spent 2 days working on it for the podcast or whatever, the stream. And I said, Ryan, I ended up doing the stream after working all day, pretty tired, but I didn't finish it. I spent 3 days. He was saying, you can go sightseeing. I was like,
no, I got to work on this tree. Once you make me start working on a tree, I've got to finish the tree.
Yeah, I'll get it close. I still could. At home, I would put a few guy wires and stuff like that on the tree.
Mm-hmm.
He ended up finishing it. Like, oh, that's pretty easy. I did all that hard grunt work for you. But he had 7 trees, something like that I could pick from, and they're all good. And I past the first 2, and it was like, my mother could do this one. My mother could do this one. And I saw what I called the beast. I was like, no way am I going to finish this tree for, a stream.
Yeah.
And I walked past it, and I looked at several more that were, going to be easy trees.
Yeah.
But like in my mind, it was like, oh gosh, I got the beast. I'll never get one that size. And
yeah. He said tree. Those had been growing in the field for.
Yeah, they were from New York.
Okay.
Connecticut. Those states up there are like counties down here.
Yeah, my wife's from upstate New York, just up there. It's just, I thought I came from a smaller town. No, up there you'd drive 5 miles, you're in a small town for like 30 seconds. You drive 5 more miles, you're in a different small town for like 30 seconds. It's just a lot smaller up there than.
You got a thick area right in here. There's a lot of these trees, this variety. People will leave where they got the apex, and then the side branches go way out. I call that the Napoleon style. It looks like his hat. And you gotta pick your direction. The eye needs to move sort of the same way. You don't want to split the eye. And this is not this particular tree, but this is a tree that you got to make those decisions. Yeah, and every dead branch, when it's small, remove.
Mm-hmm.
It's you're not going to do gens that
No.
last. And quite frankly, gens are really overdone unless they're natural, or with a tree like this, they'd be young gens, and unless they've really compacted, they get an oil to them and they dense and everything. If it doesn't have that, then they're good for a couple years. The other thing that you could do to this tree, it's going to help your eye, is clean them, the bark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm leaving some teaching decisions for you. So I'm not trying to clean it totally up, because I want it where you can kind of see what we're talking about. It's scary, I know, but see what I'm thinking. Very close. I mean, you could stop it now, make a lot of your decisions, and then go from there. Because you're gonna basically wire. I like to wire these trees. I let them grow, fill their energy up, and then wire them when, again, a little bit later on.
Mm-hmm.
You could do that wiring anytime you want. This is a easy size to wire, so you'll that part should be kind of fun for you. I would not try to do it all today.
Oh, no.
Because you don't want to rush it.
Yeah, like I said, I really just want to set structure, and then coming out and doing just the fine wiring that's just something you do.
But what I was saying about what trees to throw away and what to keep and everything.
Yeah.
Here, always, not that it's hard to do the way they're on the internet now, but you got to fondle your tools.
Yeah.
They're not all, I can show you how to fix them. This should be exactly working with your hand, where you're not having to think about it, not too hard, not too soft. And and the way these line up, but see that twist where that rivet's being held. We can fix that, but man, I don't think it's.
No, I spent on the whole set probably what you spend on a normal pair of shears.
Yeah.
So it's
So let's go through now the progression of things. Also, keep your tools sharp. It's a lot easier, like with a kitchen knife, a lot easier to keep them sharp than dull them down, then try to sharpen them. Clean them every time. This gets cleaned every day. You can see it's building up a residue. That dulls your tool.
Yeah.
Or it acts like it's dulled your tool. And see, feel the. Those now. This is $125.
Yeah,
but
that's twice what I paid for that whole set.
Yeah, and the tool before this, I'd sharpened so much. This was narrow and these were shorter.
Yeah.
And but I got 18 years out of it, using them thousands of cuts a week. But so now you're seeing your tree.
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at any tree, especially at a certain point, 12 feet.
12 feet?
Yeah. then you can see it more. You get too close. Whoops, sorry. You get too close, and the tree kind of dominates you.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're only able to look at one part of it instead of the whole thing.
There also don't hesitate to what John Naka called his magic towel, and he kept a white towel as a teaching thing with him. In fact, I got the towel, but you see, I'm going to show you just a few things.
Yeah.
That are removing is going to be a huge for me, my style. This is where your style and my style can be separate. It's subjective, and even though I'm right, but you see now the bend in this, the bend in that, the bend in this, the bend in the apex are similar.
Yeah.
It looks like that tree was growing under the same conditions. Okay. Let's see if I can get a little towel. I want you to stand back, and again, we're just gonna, we don't have to take it all off, but there's your tree.
Yeah.
This is a magic piece of wire. Always save your. So say you're agreeing with me. I'm going to get into here, and I want to see things that are being concealed by the tree itself. And one of those is this branch, which opens up, seeing this more. You could, this is one you don't have to do now. Now this is going to die, but this one could be moved over. You just don't need it. This is a good branch. This branch here is short and chunky. The eye falls out rather than going the cool way. So this is one I would remove. Now I would not, this part here, you're camouflaging that bend. I don't gin things like this because the straightness and everything,
Yeah.
but if you're gonna do it, very short.
Yeah.
So you can, this part, it's elongated. Nothing wrong with doing that. It could be shortened, make the tree look taller. So that's the kind of stuff you can make decisions on. You get up in here, and this branch looks long, but this is one you can even bring down close and fill this area in if you chose to.
Yeah, since you would
always
be taking off.
Most important branches are the back branches. That's your depth. That stops the eye. So you get up into here. We've shortened this, but you could shorten it more. And so these are areas that a lot of times I will not totally pre-plan it, but as I'm wiring going up, that's another spot you're going to edit.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can cut the wrong branch off. You know,
I've never cut off the wrong branch. Never.
Yeah.
I've never said, hey, I'm going to leave this one right here, and then like 5 minutes later come through and cut it off. I've never done that.
Really?
Yeah, I've done that all.
Yeah.
Like 5 or 6 times a tree.
Sometimes. One of my favorite things is I have a pair of scissors that are for flower arranging. And it's beautiful because with flower arrangement, you put a piece of green wire on it, and then you're cutting as you go. Well, let me tell you. I know. But it's fun cutting somebody else's wire off. But, you know, this kind of stuff, popping, it's just camouflaging the pretty part of your tree. This, when you do gens and stuff, you're painting them white. And, you Lime sulfur turns into sulfuric acid and just bleaches the wood. It will not protect the wood.
Yeah.
It's a fungicide for about 3 weeks, you know. So, but get in here and clean this up, and you're going to get to that really nice bark. It makes it look further away, and so when you're doing this, you can start seeing all these little nodules. I mean, you can see them anyway, but they become more evident. And cut those off. The tree is wanting to produce more branches.
Mm-hmm.
There's hormones there or roots. I mean, this tree roots so easy. It's incredible. So clean it up, and that again makes the tree look further away. So, you know, you're going to probably remove another fifth of the foliage, besides big branches, as you wire. That would be the first step.
Yeah.
And that might be the step you do. But still, you know, you got this flat area, this area. Another branch that you got to watch doing is one like this that creates a circle. Yeah. Circle tracks the eye. And so my eye goes to 2 things on this tree. 3. I get the overall, which is very nice. Yeah. And then I'm seeing this line going across stops the eye. My eye goes up and goes in there, and it's hard for me to continue up. Yeah. This split here, not so bad, because this looks like it could be the apex. We could have gone to this. Yeah. Wouldn't have been as good, but we could have done that. Well, trees have, the older they get, the more apexes they have. In fact, this is an apex, this is an apex, this is going to have an apex. Trees are going towards light. They produce apexes. Multiple apexes on a tree is a sign of it being a lot further along, a lot more age. And you lose lower branches, and the tree looks taller again, looks older. They drop those lower branches. But see, you got a sweet twin trunkish. Yeah. With cascading branches, no formal upright. No. The hardest style really to do.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But here's the branches I would cut if it were me today. I would take this one off, and I would you could take this one off, but these off, but this one too, at least shortened, and then a little bit in here. Then you're seeing more. Yeah. And you know, I would take this off. You don't have to do it now. You can conceal that with your wiring. That chunky thing you can conceal. What you're not able to conceal is this straight piece.
I mean, that's all it's got coming off of it.
But this is the fun part, and this is where, you know, I would prune a little bit more off this, but you don't have to. You can look at it for a while, enjoy it, but when you start wiring is when you're going to get more precious with those branches being taken off, because you have to wire them. But
well, when you start, and then when you getting close to the end, you're just going to be cutting off branches because you're you're kind of done with wiring. You're like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Well, stop. Yeah, you even feel that way, because let me tell you, you're going to be gaining speed as you go up from here, and you're going to get to about there, and your wiring is going to be 3 times as hard, because this is a lot more involved than these individual. Yeah. So Ryan had a very good student who's not in bonsai anymore, but wasn't, because the guy just does one thing and goes to another. But he wired, and he had the tree almost finished, and he pushed himself and did the top, and he was so proud of himself. He goes, Ryan, what do you think? And he goes, well, you destroyed the apex of that tree. You set me back so long. It'll take me so many years. He was kind of fucking with the guy, but still. And so this piece in here, you know, this is one that the whole thing could be removed.
Yeah.
That could be ginned and look like it was part of the tree. That could have been the whole tree, but that's exactly what this species does. And it looks like you didn't make a decision. So, is this where you want to be, or you want to cut more?
I think that does need to come off.
This piece here?
No, the big
that
this whole branch needs to go.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's got to go. Like if we needed to, we could drop this one down back here and fill in that spot.
Yes.
Maybe bring this one over this way a little bit.
That branch is a good important branch. Could you take it off? Yeah, but you know you're filling.
I would want to leave this one and probably this one as well.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong.
This whole thing can go away.
So, you cool?
Yeah.
So, I'm going to say this. One of my favorite parts of this tree is this dead piece that you left on, which was a smart thing. But it comes up, and this part goes with all these others. So this still stops the eye.
Yeah.
You're not going to do a gin that works. You could right now you could wire this and move it really easily.
Yeah.
If you
maybe take it up there like that.
Yeah, but you notice one thing: you're not moving that.
Yeah.
The tree would be better without it. So you get back and look. I'll hold it. You look. Jeez. Never mind. Okay.
Yeah, no, it doesn't do anything up there.
So, the way I would deal with that this is a splitter.
Yep.
And when you look for your splitters, get this is not going to split without doing a lot of damage. So that those
you want something that's a lot thinner.
Yeah. And so yeah. So this is a that's a tool that obviously I use a lot of, because this being a nipper, you can get in there. People use these for roots. Okay, you feel how tight that is?
Yeah.
Okay. So you've got this side of your rivet and this side. This is the side you hit to tighten. And so to loosen it, you'll come in here. It's harder to
loosen it up than it is to tighten.
See, just that amount.
Oh yeah,
is a lot easier. So what I'm going to do is break that, just that tip. Keep wanting to put something on top of that. But these also getting roots out, big roots especially. And just what I'm doing now is getting the pith wood out.
Yeah.
You do more of this, but you see, you get into that purple wood.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part of this case, Shari or short gin, is going to stay for a long time. But come look at it now.
Yeah, that looks 1,000 times better.
Just don't want to interrupt the eye.
Yeah. That almost needs to go too.
You don't need it.
Yeah.
It better without it. So
yeah.
How about, I mean, this is dead anyway. Or at least it is now. So this guy coming off the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
you could twist it and do this, but that extension is going to be hard to deal with. The one branch that I feel like is messing.
Yeah, that can go away. That's not a.
Then the rest of them you can think about. Now I would separate. I would do this.
Yeah.
So into the crotch and elongated, but yeah, this is this one when you wire would need to come down there or take it off. Yeah, we left a lot. I did anyway, just going through fast. But when you're doing this, clean your cuts. So come back in here and go through.
Yeah, anywhere there's like a little stub right there.
The eye sees it.
Yep.
You know?
So you
show you another tool. This is the best bonsai saw you'll ever get, and $20. And when you cut with that, let me show you the. Oops. It shouldn't squeak. And this one's been out here being used for a while. Look how clean that.
Yeah.
Smooth. Better your cut, better it's going to heal. So you really don't have to spend a lot of money on your tools. Just get good ones.
Yep.
Yeah, man. It's looking good. There you go. That part I would definitely.
Yeah. That needs.
There's gonna be a point we're very close to it. Now we're getting into that 30%. You can push it.
Yeah.
We're getting into that. So this is a point where you can let it. Each time you do something, there's a stress level. Repotting, wiring, pruning, and there are other ones. But it's best to not push it. And people will go, next year kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, no, it's next growth cycle. So if you pot, don't do anything to it, pushes again, and it's time to prune. And once you prune it, if it doesn't push well, then don't wire it until it does. So, the tree's going to help you with that.
I think that.
Now you're starting to get dangerous.
Well,
No,
I mean,
I didn't mean that as a negative.
That's
Danger is a good thing.
That's the top of the tree.
Yeah.
And like I can actually see it because it got cleaned out, like actually cleaned out, and not just the first inch of every branch. Like that's what you hear online a lot is just clean off the first inch of every branch, and it's no, you got to go in and clean everything.
You've got to come in and we've already cleaned a lot of it, but you've got all these old needles and stuff that are in there.
Yeah.
And so like with this, you know, this part of that branch is never going to do anything. You clean all that out. You clean all those dead needles out, and it's going to look better there too. Crotch growth. Clean your cuts. And
these are bugging me. I gotta.
This is the point where art and bonsai being part of that, very subjective.
And you said you would gin that. That would be a gin that would last. Is what I'm saying.
You're gonna go in there and sort of, you could do some of it with just ripping or you know, I'll use this hemorrhoid cutter, but I would use this, and you could take out chunks and give it a little bit of shape. But you want taper in the gins too. So you know this tool kind of overdone, and this is a great tool. You'll use that a lot. The little concave cutters, it's generally the first tool people buy. Your expensive tool or your best tool is going to be that. But if you're getting this is not a good one. I can show you. I wasn't preparing for outside. This is the concave cutter size that I use. But you can get into crotches. They're they're hard to sharpen, especially stainless. But you can get you know, I buy these as I go. I still sharpen them, but I replace this one. But this tool, you know, you go in, when you're using a tool like this, it's engineered to cut 1/3 the size of the length. And so I always, if you're going to push more than 1/3, cut it at the butt, strongest piece. I save the tips for what?
Just pruning work.
Yeah, because man, you can fuck those up pretty easy. But you got a real sweet tree here, and you know, you put it in obviously you can see now. Not only so, say you were going to pot it in a shape of pot like this, so your negative space is on the wrong side. So this should be over here, so the negative space on the pot works with the tree.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I just had that really long branch over there.
Well, no, I get the reasons, but so this is going to, again, foliar dominant. The roots are there for hormones and bring the water up to it and everything. Doesn't have to be big. It could be. I have the right pot here. This is during repotting period. Don't clean up very fast, but don't really have the pot. It'd be shape-wise
round, about that size, slightly deeper.
Thin, and you can plant it. If this is way wrong, the size-wise. Yeah. But you can also plant it a little high with this, and makes the trunk even work better. Also, always come and look at backs. Yeah. Look at sides, because when you're repotting, you know, you want the tree leaning towards you, obviously, but look at the sides. Sometimes you'll make a mistake. You know, as you're sitting in the pot, get it softly tied in, then you can start looking. Don't go all the way through the process. Yeah. And when you're tying down, you want to tie down the weak spot first. So if I tie this down and do it tight, then the tree's going to pull forward.
Yeah.
But tie the other side, it'll straighten it up. So go back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're heavy over there.
Yeah, right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, you know, you might make a choice on what you want to do. I mean, that branch could actually come all the way off, but you know, do that. I would wait on something like that.
Yeah.
You've wired it. I would leave it alone until you pot it, because it might change.
So basically that, but maybe an inch or so bigger and
No, smaller.
Smaller?
Yeah.
Okay, so like a
I don't know.
10-inch pot?
Size, right? Believe me, I have the right. Another. Oh, this would be kind of killer. But old brake drums.
Yeah.
Look at that pot. It won't blow off your bench.
That would definitely wouldn't blow off the bench, and it's got tie down holes. And
Yeah, I mean, right. And it gives you some iron.
I would have never thought to use something like that, but it does make sense.
Oh, yeah. Or a squish it. So that 12 feet, get down a little bit.
Yeah.
Just shape wise and everything.
Mm-hmm.
We're dangerous together.
Uh-oh. Looking for unusual pots?
Well, he was just
Show me.
showing about the size that I need for this tree.
And see, that was large.
Can you find the larger ones of these?
I mean, I haven't looked for them.
Well, I mean, you could pay a big difference. Tree got bigger.
Yeah.
Cool. Was this here or did
Yeah.
Yeah, I did. I did that when I.
I know, right?
When I got it, it was a little triple trunk, and this one had one shoot coming out. It was basically right here. It was about that much foliage, and this one had two splitting right here.
But that it's just.
Yeah. No, that works great. And it's one of those rule breakers that crosses the trunk.
But y'all love all of these. Cool, cool, cool.
Yeah. Well, I was never taught the rules, so I just
You can't break them.
I can't break them if I don't know them.
And you see, he doesn't have. He's got regular fertilizer. Not the.
Yeah, it's like 12.
Yeah, 1288.
But I meant
Organic.
you don't have to stick to just the balls that you've been.
No, wow, they're perfect size.
Well,
Kidding
I got
me.
so frustrated. We saw these, said they're great. Amazon
Mm-hmm.
cost a fortune
Yeah.
for the bigger ones. Timu, yay! I was so excited. I ordered big ones. I ordered small ones.
And they
just
sent you
didn't
small
send
ones.
the big ones. They
Yeah.
just sent twice as many small ones. And then now they're not available anywhere. And I think these are wonderful.
Yeah, I really like those. I've got as many as I could find. So
Timu has plenty of these.
yeah.
For cheap.
Yeah, well, they were like, did you get the first batch 100 or something?
I got 100 in each batch, and they were like $20. You
Man,
know.
they go
Yeah.
so fast sticking them on.
Yeah.
So here's one thing I'll show you is with a tree like this, they get, in my mind, they get better and better as you exaggerate the triangle. This part's all about triangles, but
Yeah.
very exaggerated.
Mhm.
And that's the cool part of this tree.
And it's nice and healthy. My God, it's a vibrant, lovely.
Or you could go behind the branch even and come out. You can fake everything
Yeah.
visually. The human brain is so easy to fuck.
Yeah, it is easy to mess with.
It can be removed. the simple way is to remove it.
Yeah.
You get into a better art if you try to leave things like that on. I call those, and I'm not the only one, but you'll have a tree in a show. Say this tree's in a show, and you've got it right by a traditional tree, and people will be standing in front of your tree talking about it. So I call that a conversation branch. He's now seeing his tree and playing with it.
Yeah.
So this one here, you can, you're to the back.
Yep.
So this one can go up a little bit, then down.
And why are the longy one?
Yeah, or this is going to have, when you go up your tree, whatever motion you have in the trunk, exaggerate it in the branches. So this straight piece, it looks young.
Yeah.
Exaggerate. You got a good tree.
Very good.
If you don't like it, you can leave it here.
Well, good.
Right. I'm just curious. So you got a tree like this. Don't hesitate to, and I don't think it's going to work this way, but move it around. You got another 45 here. This would have to be brought.
Yeah.
You got a 45 here. You got the one like that. So whenever, I don't assume 45s. If I've got a twin trunk, I'm going to do this every time. It was something I learned in the beginning, and I still do it. I still look at all the ones. 'Cause sometimes it's the back one that you wouldn't think would be the one. It's not in this case.
No.
But you've got some in between thing that works. And stood up.
Yeah.
It works a little bit, but the other side's better.
But then this would have to.
Yeah. I mean, if I was going to move that, I'd do it with a
guy wire. Yeah.
And this branch, it's super weak. This part of this branch is going to go.
Yeah.
On its own. So my teacher said the first branch should be good enough that it could be the whole tree. So.
Yeah. Well, it would be the combination of these two, right?
Yeah. But you could.
He brought this one.
Remember the drama queen size? You could go. No, I don't want you to do it. But you could go with this, and this tree could be a gen.
So you would gen it from here up and just use this as the apex?
I would. The higher up you go, the less time has been involved. If you're using branches, the longer they are, you go from, say, 20 years to 100 years. Well, having no branch, you're getting into 500 years. You start reducing the height of that dead tree, and it's all about age.
Yeah.
And so sooner or later, you're not going to have anything but a little stubble down here.
Yeah.
That's really old. But the tree, the elegance of the two together, this could be the whole tree, but they're a lot better together.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even, but it's just a teaching thing. That first branch that you put on a tree, it better be good. But you look at this is still a little heavy, not much.
Yeah.
Not enough to have to worry about it.
Would that, that's pretty. There's no rootage down here.
So,
well,
good.
Yeah.
Show it off.
Well, no, yeah,
you know, it is what it is.
But I mean, it is the widest spread that you're going to get is right there.
Yeah, but it's on the other side too.
Yeah. Well,
And-
a lot of it's hidden by this mound
Well,
of roots.
when you're repotting,
Yeah. That can always be fixed.
investigate.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's
And-
a better root system
Yeah,
below that.
like it was sitting up like this, and the way that I got it to lay down is I just basically excavated up underneath it
Yeah.
and laid it down.
Yeah.
Is that like the right thing to do, or is that
your roots generally will tell you the angle of the tree.
Yeah.
And so
Well, I mean, when I got it, it was
yeah,
like that, and that was not where it needed to be. So in order to get those to lay down instead of sticking up here like that, I had to go up underneath the.
Well, you can, you know, if the trees move in that direction, say we exaggerate, then there's nothing wrong with having gen roots too.
Yeah.
That tree got knocked over.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, so I mean that thing was just, I mean that whole experience was amazing. I wish I lived closer so I could do it more often, or maybe, I don't know. It was just really, really cool. Rest of this week, I'm going to be putting out a couple of, I'll be putting out all the critiques that he did on my trees. I didn't want to put it all in one video where it'd be like 4 hours long. And I didn't want to do that to y'all. So I'll put out each of the critiques individually. It'll be 8 more trees. They spent like anywhere between 5 and 15 minutes on each one of them. Some of them he liked, some of them he didn't like, but yeah, doing all of that was just it was really cool. And it gave me a lot of confidence going forward, and that my trees aren't horrible. They're some of them are actually pretty nice, and I've just been able to do some. It gave me a lot of hope going forward that I can actually do some decent bonsai. So until the next time I see y'all out at the bench in the backyard, just remember to grow them big, but keep them small.